Peace, man. Hey, y'all. Uh, I'm just doing not really an album ranking, obviously. You could always tell by the thumbnail, so I don't even know why I go through this redundant routine of introducing the video. It's Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. And what I'm focusing on is 1969 to 1974. 74. So I got a bunch of albums here. So we'll grab all. Try to get everything all in order here. Just bear with me, people. So you gotta separate. You gotta separate them. Okay. You gotta separate them. Okay. I'm ready now. I'm ready. Well, we'll jump right into this and go right into. Well, first of all, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Now they were a very, very influential band in the late '60s. They came from Buffalo, Springfield, right here. Buffalo, Springfield. This is Buffalo Springfield's first album, and of course they had the song "For What It's Worth." And then you got Neil Young and Stephen Stills from there. And then you got David Crosby after he was kicked out of the Byrds. Another Southern Cal band. And then you had Graham Nash from the Hollies. Hollies still went on after and produced some pretty long, cool woman in a black dress. But he was already gone by then. That was 70s Hollies. He was 60s Hollies. You know, bus stop, she is waiting. Please use my umbrella. Anyway, on a side note with that, I got you get so much information, all compact into these. These books are from England. They're from Uncut, and that's a great cover, ain't it? It's just an awesome cover. But why I'm talking from '69 to basically '74 is because they put out so much good music. All of them, all four of them. Obviously Neil Young, really kicking it up into the stratosphere. But the others were no slouches either. So let's start off. We had Crosby, Stills, and Nash. This album came out in 1969. What do we have on here? Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, Guinevere, Wooden Ships, Helplessly Hoping, Long Time Gone. They all contributed. Long Time Gone, Guinevere, that's David Crosby. Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, I think they all had a hand in writing that. But also that same year, Neil Young put out his second album, but this one is with Crazy Horse. Everyone knows This Is Nowhere. You know, Cinnamon Girl, Cowgirl in the Sand, Down by the River. Great stuff, man, great stuff. Now, I remember, I grew up listening to the Beatles and Elton John, but in 1977, I moved to Staten Island, and that was how I got exposed to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and in particular Neil Young. We used to sit on the porch in the summertime, and I remember when Live Rust came out, and Rust Never Sleeps, and Stars and Bars. We were listening to a lot of that. My friend Bobby introduced me to them, and I believe it was his brother Dennis that introduced both of us to them. And it was called Beechwood Avenue. That's where we hung out. It was right across from Mahoney Park and Jersey Street projects. But this was our little block of normalcy. You know, we had the Lopez's up the block, and Christina Lopez, friend of mine, passed away a couple of years ago. God rest her soul. We had the Boylans. We had Debbie Boylan and Kitty Boylan and Tommy Boylan, and we used to go over there and drink beers and smoke some doobs and listen to this type of music. And it was a really innocent, fun time. This went on that I would say probably like between 78, 79, 80, 81, 82. We'd meet up and hang out and just chew the fat, make some food. It was just a really good time. And my friend Rob Kelsey would come from around the block, my friend Howie, who lived around the block, and we'd all just hang out. Now, everybody liked all kinds of different music, but, we'd all listen to this stuff. So that was them for 1969. These two fantastic albums. Then we just cruised right along to 1970. And what 1970 bring us? Well, 1970 brought us Deja Vu. Deja Vu. This was a fantastic record. Had on here Carry On, Teach Your Children, Helpless, Woodstock, Country Girl, Our House. Now at this point Neil Young joined the band. I think he was was it Clive Davis, who was the head of the Atlantic at the time, urged them to bring on Neil Young, and what a good choice that was. You wouldn't think their angelic harmonies would mix with Neil Young's kind of obscure vocals, but they do. Also that year in 1970, we got Stephen Stills' first solo album, aptly titled Stephen Stills. We had on here Love the One You're With. That's the big song off of here. But there's a lot of guys that play on here. People from the Dead, Jimi Hendrix plays on here, Eric Clapton plays on here, and I do believe Crosby and Nash play on here too. Then we got this little gem, Neil Young after the gold rush. Southern Man, Tell Me Why, Only Love Can Break Your Heart, Don't Let It Bring You Down, Don't Let It. And then we got the solo album from David Crosby. This is a real gem in the bunch. And they were all hit albums. This is highly overlooked in my opinion. This one had the Grateful Dead playing on it. It had Jefferson Airplane playing on it. It's good stuff. Cowboy Movie, Laughing, What Are These Names? Like, you probably don't know any songs by this, but this is My Name, If Only I Could Remember My Name, David Crosby. Listen to this, is a great album. Okay, so then we can move on to 1971. Now, this was one of the big albums that we always listened to on the Porch of Beechwood, right here. Four-Way Street. This is one of the greatest live albums ever made. It's got like Ohio on it. It's got a lot of stuff. It's got all their solo stuff, and then it's got all their stuff that they did as a group. Different snippets of each one of their. It's just a great record. This thing was on constant replay on Beechwood. Let me tell you. Then we had Graham Nash's solo album, Songs for Beginners. Once again, these are all. There was a big folk rock, acoustic rock thing in the early '70s. You had Carole King, you had Joni Mitchell, you had James Taylor, you had Jim Croce, you had all these guys that were doing that kind of, even Simon and Garfunkel, and it was just really good music. And these were all big radio hits too. Boy, I guess it is 50 years ago, so times have really changed, but the quality of music, the quality of songwriting, the quality of musicianship so far outshines what is passed off as music today. Now, I'm not downgrading that there is not good music today, but you really have to go seek it out, and it certainly isn't on the radio. Then Neil Young then we had Stephen Stills 2. What was this? When did this come out? Stephen Stills 2. There's another great gem from Stephen Stills. Okay, and then in 72, Graham Nash and David Crosby put out a record, which that was their first duo album. I don't have that one. Let me see what it's called. It will be in here. Oh, here it is. See? It lists all the records. It's just called Graham Nash and David Crosby. They put out a few albums together. Yeah, Graham Nash, that was in 72. Neil Young dropped this little gem. Harvest. Harvest, ever hear of Harvest, eh? Old Man. Heart of Gold. The Needle and the Damage Done. Man Needs a Maid. Good stuff, right? I love these. It's got some really good four-way street. See, this book here just goes over all the tracks. It rates all the tracks. It tells you all the particulars about the album, when it actually came out. See, we got the Stephen Stills gems here. Stephen Stills, he was a weird cat, man. He was wearing like these football jerseys back then. Way ahead of his time as far as the fashion department goes. He would have fit right in the 80s. Well, actually in the 90s and 2000s, right? Yeah, it covers all parts of the career. This was, excuse me. Now, the thing with Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, they put out more albums after that, but it was just kind of lacking. Let me see what I got here. Let me see if I could find, because I think it was 75. Yeah, CSN put out another album just called Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and that was a great album. That came out in 77. So they kept going. But after that, they put out Daylight again, which was okay. It had some good songs on there, Southern Cross. But their input kind of waned. Well, their relevance definitely waned. They were still touring a lot, though. And this is a great album. I happen to really particularly like this. This came out in 74. This was Graham Nash and David Crosby, Wind on the Water. This is a really good album. There's a lot of good guitar work on this album. I was very surprised. Also in 74, Neil Young put out On the Beach. Good stuff. And here's the little greatest hits that they put out. Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. So far. Yeah, that's about as far as they got. Yeah, they put out albums up until the 90s. Crosby and Stills put out albums. Stills and Young put out an album. It was okay. None of the stuff was really horrible. But their relevance it didn't capture that glory of 69 to 74 or 69 to 75. David Crosby still continued to put out a lot of music. Unfortunately, he passed away this past January, the age of, I think he was like 82 or something. Dude, this guy had liver transplants. He was a hardcore heroin and coke addict. And he lived at 82 with a liver transplant. You know, I think he fathered the child of Melissa Etheridge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Little tidbits of information about this group. Neil Young always stayed relevant. He had resurgences. He kind of waned off in the 80s, did some weird stuff. Now, I never saw these guys in concert. I did see Neil Young in concert, but that's when he was on his trans tour. His trans tour. It's pretty funny, right? He had an album called Trans. I'm sorry to make myself laugh. Because it's not what you think. It was an electronic album, and it was weird. But at the show, he did half the show acoustic, which was fun. And then he came out and did this electronic music. Almost inspired by like Depeche Mode and Gary Newman. And it was good. I saw it at Madison Square Garden with my friend Bobby. It was a great show. If you were lucky enough to see that show, he didn't do too many concerts for it either. But, you know, I'll probably do a Neil Young Essentials after this, but I just wanted to touch base on Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, because it meant a lot for me in my tweens and teens, my late tweens and my early teens, hanging on the porch in Beechwood Avenue, Staten Island, the Boylans, Debbie Boylan's house. So there you go. Fond memories, yes indeedy. Okay. Another good picture of Stephen. What else we got here? This is a good picture of the band. I like that one. But anyway, thank you for watching my video. Anyway, what am I up to? It's Woody Allen in the back. 15 minutes. 15 minutes long enough. Way beyond most people's comprehension and attention spans. Peace. Everybody have a wonderful day.